Hey, welcome to another episode of Geekly Reveal. It's that show that brings you geeky news on a weekly basis. It's not just any episode of Geekly Reveal, it's our number 100, our 100th episode of doing these Geekly Reveals. Wow, it's a celebration. It's awesome. It's me, it's as it's always been, it's Dom, aka Brother Dom, all over the internet. And once again, I am joined by the centennially powered co-host. Would you like to tell the people who you are?
Hey everyone, it's Stephanie, aka Captain Steph on Twitter, the Snowqueer on Tumblr, where I never am anymore, but yeah, we're here for our 100th episode, and we have a special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
No. Please introduce
Absolutely
me.
not.
You
may not know who I am.
Fuck. Some things just fell over. Sorry, we're gonna have to do that again.
That's fine.
Mountain Dew just spilled all over my phone.
Oh no.
The gamer fuel has spilled.
I don't know how that happened. Nothing moved.
It's those damn moon people
It
in their
just
rocket.
fell.
Leave the recording on. Do whatever cleaning you need to do.
I'm good. No, that's my intro. Hi, I'm Eric. There's two things you need to know about me. It's that I'm challenged with gravity, and there was apparently Mountain Dew on my desk.
Oh.
Brand new news. Just a surprise. It's this fucking bunny. He left it on your desk to cause you more strife.
He's already killed me with eggs.
Eggs.
I don't remember drinking that Mountain Dew, so, it may as well have come from
I remember buying that Mountain Dew.
I don't drink sugary drinks.
You just wake up one day and you're a gamer with a bottle of Mountain Dew in your mouth and a bib covered in Dorito dust.
Been waiting for my package of Doritos and Mountain Dew to arrive at my door now that I've logged so many hours of so many different games.
You have ascended. Steph, how are you doing on this this day? Let's just call it what it is on this day.
It's a day. It's not bad. It's been nice. It's nice out. I made myself some masks, or almost made myself some masks. I have a few more things to do after we log off here. I finished a book. I played some Animal Crossing. The things.
What
How
a
about
day.
you?
I'm good, just making it through. Had some nice Easter times today. Caught up on Ducktales. I had Easter dinner with my partner. She made a great dish. She also made some cake this morning, some cinnamon cake, which is not going to make it to tomorrow. We're both enjoying it and just kind of hanging out, playing games, watching some Overwatch League, some good upsets, some good games. Yeah, so things are good. And Eric, our guest, how are you doing today? Besides your spill.
Yeah, other than spilling sugary drinks all over myself, generally been pretty good. Spent another probably 7 hours today playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Cool.
It's been a JRPG week for me. So
yeah, that's awesome. And we will be getting into a little bit of that soon, if not now. Steph, what do we want to talk about? Where do we want to start?
You want to start with video games? I guess most of our stuff this week is video games, but
Yeah, actually, most of it is. So, for those who might be following us or keeping up, we will be doing, at the end of this episode, in replacement of My Hero Academia, we'll be doing DuckTales recaps. And seeing as the first 3 episodes are out, we'll go over those some and chitter-chatter about the things going on in Duckburg. But yeah, we could start with video games. So we can either start with the Western developer or the Eastern developer. Which side do we want to start on?
Let's go. Do you want to start with Nintendo and then work our way over to the various JRPGs?
Yeah, we'll start with Nintendo, we'll go to the JRPGs, and then we'll come back to some Shooterland discussion. So yeah, what's going on in Nintendo Land?
Bunny Day is almost over.
we've just got a few hours left of Egg Hell, wreaking havoc on my beautiful island.
If I never whack a rock and get an egg instead of a fucking gold nugget again, it will be too soon.
My main complaint is the eggs are, they're named for where they came from, which creates some problems such as wood egg and sky egg and rock egg. These are not eggs. That is, I don't want a wood egg. I want an egg egg.
Is it like
You
a
can eat
Fabergé
the wood egg, though.
You can eat all of the
You can eat
eggs.
any of the eggs.
I presume they're supposed to be chocolate or something, but
And they give you powers.
they do.
The same way eating fruit gives you powers.
If you get too fruit strong, you can dig up all your trees and destroy all your rocks, as I believe you learned the first time you played.
I did.
Uh,
I was like, oh, I can eat up to 10? I'm gonna eat 10.
You guys are saying stuff, and I'm trying to figure out like where the line between reality and video game ends and begins. Because this all
we
sounds
all
a little
know
bit
I can only
nonsense.
eat 10 pieces of fruit at a time.
That's
If in Animal Crossing, go ahead.
That's a logistical limit in real life, probably. I don't think you should eat more than 10 servings of fruit a day. You'll spend a lot of time in the restroom.
Or 10 eggs.
Like Gaston. Eat 10 eggs every morning to help me get large.
He was a large man. No one was as large as him, I heard.
But, yeah, so if you eat your fruit or your eggs, you have greater powers of strength than you normally would. So, like, if you typically go up to a tree and, like, try to do a shovel at it, it will do nothing. But with fruit strength, if you go up to a tree and do a shovel at it, it will scoop the tree out of the ground, which is useful if you want to, like, you know, move shit around on your island or what have you. Not so useful when you go to whack rocks, because, like, the rocks on your island, if you hit them, like, 8 times in a row or, like, once a day, you get, like, ore and shit out of them, because I didn't know this was first, like, so, Eric, do you want to talk about how other Animal Crossing games did not have crafting?
Yeah, this is the first one that brought in the whole crafting system, which is kind of a natural evolution for any game that's based around, like, you know, decorating a house, or in this case, an island. That said, though, it's incredibly frustrating that the first entry to do with crafting also brings into the fact that all of your tools can now break, which plays into, you know, you need the ore and the rocks and the wood to make your tools, but if you are mistakenly destroying all your rocks, you cannot get the ore with which to make your tools.
You will have no tool things. Like, this came into stern effect for me once so, like, one of the side quests of this is, like, to get more materials, you can go to these, like, mystery desert islands and just, like, I think I called it, like, Eric and I have been calling it this, but, like, I think I called it this on the podcast last week, doing a colonialism.
Yeah, it's kind of what it is, to a degree.
Where you just go and completely raise it of all, like, resources in order to, like, gain more materials for building and stuff, and it also can make a very good atmosphere to buy, or to catch spiders, which are the most valuable sales thing.
Yeah, from what I understand, it sounds like the whole point of Animal Crossing is just to get spiders.
Yeah,
I think it's really just a spider collecting game. But I got to an island, and, like, so you can still buy tools from, like, your pilot when you get to these islands, but only, like, the weakest kind of tools. And so, like, the axe that you get will, like, if you hit trees with it, it will make wood come out of the trees, but it won't cut down the trees. And so, like, so there's, like, the flimsy version of a tool and then the, like, regular version of a tool, and you can only get the flimsy versions if you run out of it, like, if your tool breaks while you're on one of these islands doing a colonialism. And, like, if you're trying to make yourself, like, a spider hunting paradise, this is a problem, because as long as you have trees, bugs who are not spiders will spawn. Or, like, as long as you have stumps, bugs who are not spiders will spawn.
So you gotta clear those bad boys out.
Yeah, and if your tool is broken to a point where it cannot cut down a tree, then you are cucky out of lucky.
And of course, none of this would matter in the first place if you weren't having to do a colonialism in order to pay off your all mortgages that you continue to get every time you pay the raccoon his money.
And he's like, oh, did you pay this off so fast because you want to be in debt more to me?
And you could say
yes,
no,
the
but
American dream.
that's just wrong.
It's wrong. I mean, what's the point of living pleasantly in your one-story house with one room when you could live pleasantly in your two-story house with multiple rooms?
That you still don't have furniture for because you haven't had the ability to craft any of it because you don't have the materials.
It's still just empty rooms.
Look, if you can't have a mega mansion in a life simulating game, you can already not do that in real life. You gotta go for it.
Yeah, exactly. I have like some things in my house that I like, but so far mostly like I put my lady to sleep at night. Like I put her in the bed.
Oh, that's cute.
I'm like, it's time to sleep. Go lay in the bed and turn the lights off.
Carry me home.
But like she's still sleeping on like the camp cot that they give you for your tent, because the starter beds they give you recipes for are ugly and I don't want them.
Yeah, most of my decorating, I think I only have one room that I actually am proud of, and it's what I call my Yakuza office, because it's just a big desk with chairs kind of like lined up outwards from it, as if important meetings would be there. And then there's this item called the fishing flag that I can't purport to read it yet, but it's just got a picture of a fish and then some kanji on it, and that sits above the desk, and that's my Yakuza room. Rivaled only by my
business deals.
Rivaled only by my bidet room. That is just an empty room with a bidet facing the window.
That's a power move.
I also have a bidet, which was gifted to me by one of my villagers when he moved onto the island. He was like, I know what you're about.
That's a mega power move to be like, hey, you look like you need this more than me.
Well, if you want, I have 2 standing toilets now. I could give you one.
Like, what's a standing toilet? Like a urinal or a toilet?
Yes, it's straight up a urinal. I don't know why they call it standing toilet.
Because you stand while you use it,
okay,
I guess.
Alright, sure.
You could
As
stand
opposed to
on
like
it.
a squatting toilet or a sitting toilet, the other 2 kinds of toilets.
Or a spraying toilet.
I will say, so I got my favorite villager to move in. Her name is Anka, and she's an Egyptian cat. The inside of her house is just a big pyramid, a workbench, and a golden toilet.
That's the dream.
Yeah, I expected some more, like, I don't know, she's got, like, the snooty attitude that the villagers have, so I expected, some sort of, like, fancy design. Nope, toilet, pyramid, workbench.
It's called minimalism, Eric. Get with the program.
You're right.
I'm just mad because all of the villagers, so, like, I invited 2 villagers that I was excited to have move in, Nan the goat and Ozzy the koala, and then the 2, like, other villagers, like, that have come so far are like the ugliest motherfuckers. Like Pate the duck, and then like some other like Kappa looking guy came to my campsite today, and I was like, oh no, you're here at my campsite, so I have to invite you to live on my island, and I hate it.
You could be rude and just say no.
I could. Well, once I was talking to him, it didn't give me a text option to say no.
Oh. I'm not sure how that all works. I just know how the Nintendo's finally integrated their Animal Crossing amiibo cards that came out years ago into this game, but it's the most arcane process where you have to scan the card each day for 3 days straight, give the animal a piece of furniture each time, and then on the 3rd day, they will say,
Rise.
yes, they
Third day, rise from the dead.
Exactly. But on the 3rd day, they'll finally be like, I could probably live here, and you can invite them to live there, but if you don't have an empty plot available, you can't invite them, and it won't work.
So do you have to run the cards 3 more times, or do they just not work after that?
I don't know, because I have tried not to fuck it up.
Yeah, fair.
So.
Oh, that's fun.
God. Yeah, so that's where we are in Animal Crossing. We're about to be free of egg hell, which is really the most important update. The Cherry Blossom Festival ended, which I'm really bummed about because the cherry blossom trees were pretty, so I went around and cut down all of the hardwood trees this morning and replaced them with fruit trees because they're not pretty anymore.
And they
give me no resources.
There are new fish in season.
Ooh,
yes,
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's the only other major update to Animal Crossing this week.
Hey, they plan on they're going to keep updating it, right?
Yeah, so unlike the previous games where like each holiday event was pre-scripted and the same every year, Nintendo plans to kind of keep them as like rolling updates as they come along. So that's
really cool.
Yeah, you have to, but the only downside is you have to be connected to the internet in order to get them. So,
do you have to have the subscription, or do you just have the internet?
I think you just have to have the internet. I don't want to be wrong about that. This is my first time being publicly wrong on the internet. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry. Like, we're routinely publicly wrong. It's fine. That's not so bad. That's not so bad. Anything else in the world of Animal Crossing?
I don't think so.
It's still really cute.
Still really cute. Still really having fun.
Awesome. For the sake of just saying some stuff, I downloaded a bunch of games yesterday that I've previously purchased. So I didn't spend any money yesterday, but used that money that I spent. But I haven't played any of those games, so no updates on them. But I just wanted to say some stuff.
Say some stuff. Tell us about... I don't know. Tell us about your life, Dom. Tell us about...
My life? Oh, man. I don't know. Life's wild. I watched a video about Sonic stuff today, about the modern reality that the character lives in and how weird it is and how much odd stuff has happened. It's like, wow, yeah. You know, this character has really gone through...
some shit.
The fandom has as well. Like, there's a lot of weird shit the fans have made, and to the point that people aren't sure whether half the stuff that's made is sincere or trolling. Such as the comic Tails gets trolled. There's something awful for him was like, yo, this guy is really bad at making comics. This is trash. And then after a while, they're like, wait, I'm starting to care about this a little bit. And like, wait, is this guy just trolling us or what's going on here? Just lots of different stuff like that. Sonic Dreams Collection. It's a video by Super Eye Patch Wolf, who makes really good videos about anime, video games, wrestling, and really makes them fascinating. So I recommend y'all check that out. I'll probably recommend that again soon on this feed. In more detail. But yeah, that's what's going on in my life. But we have more video games to talk about. The games don't stop. And
it's a very gaming heavy week. Big week for games.
Big week for... Actually, yes, though. Not just here, but in general.
Yeah. There's ones that we didn't even play.
It's crazy.
Impossible.
There are other video games.
Yeah, what did come out that we didn't play this week? I mean, like, major release, like Resident Evil, I'm guessing.
I was going to say Resident Evil 3 is probably the top contender there.
That's a tentpole. I think I've seen that on Twitch as one of their highest viewed things. But before I go on my spiel about the highest viewing thing on Twitch this past couple days, the second highest viewed thing is the reason we brought in our JRPG correspondent. Is your official title?
That's correct.
So, Eric, you've been playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake along with the Persona 5 Royal update, or I guess remake that came out, whatever we're going to call it.
I would call it an update. It could have been DLC.
Yeah, but you can't make $60 on DLC.
You could. You could try.
You could try.
And Atlas sure did.
God knows Dead or Alive has done that.
Exactly. And Train Simulator, I think, has like multiple thousands of dollars worth of DLC. Anyways.
So real quick, I want to get into that for a second.
I'm very proud of myself for the ass pull of knowing that Atlas is the...
proud of you too.
That is a weird ass pull. I guess they're owned by Sega.
Correct.
To some degree.
Yeah.
It's very strange. There's no reason why the gacha game I play, Sega Heroes, doesn't have Persona characters in it yet, other than they're trying to decide which Persona characters they want to use.
They should also have Hatsune Miku in there, but...
They should, but they just introduced...
Is she Sega?
She is Sega.
Yeah. She wears a Sonic outfit at one point. That's what I know. That's my life. But no, this game has lots of franchises in it, and... The last few were Choo Choo Rocket, another Sonic set because it's a headline, Virtua Fighter, and now Yakuza. So I know 3 Yakuza characters, and they look silly in this art style.
Are they Kiryu, Mishima, and who's the third?
I have Majima.
Majima, yeah. Sorry, not Mishima. That's
Kiryu.
A Persona character.
Yeah, and then Akiyama.
Okay.
But there's one more to come, and I have no idea who it's going to be, but I'm hyped out of my mind for this franchise I've never played before.
I highly recommend you play it, but that's not what I'm here to talk about.
It's not. What are you here to talk about? Final Fantasy VII and maybe Persona if we feel jazzed. How's Final Fantasy VII Remake?
So, speaking as somebody who I absolutely love the Final Fantasy series, as I know at least the two of you know, and is now... being announced to the rest of the internet, I love Final Fantasy. I
think we've mentioned it to our audience that you're our DM and quite love Final Fantasy, as it was one of our D&D campaigns.
Yes, it was. Still would love to go back to that at some point. But so Final Fantasy VII is not exactly my favorite entry into the series. when they announced the Final Fantasy VII Remake, I went on a tirade on Facebook back when I still had it about how Final Fantasy VII was the least deserving of a remake in the entire series. That said,
You still spent the big bucks.
I still spent the big dollar bills to get the special edition because I have to put it on the shelf with all my other Final Fantasy things. And that's all of that said, my distaste for the original game, I could go on for a while about that, but in the interest of brevity, I will say that I am enjoying the remake. They have done some very interesting things with the combat that I am very happy with. They took everything that was kind of bad about Final Fantasy XV's combat and improved it, and then put it into Final Fantasy VII. They've done a lot of interesting things with characterization of side characters. But that said, this is only basically the plot of the first 5 hours of Final Fantasy VII.
How long is this version of it, though? More than 5 hours?
Definitely more than 5 hours. Supposedly, it's around 60 hours if you play it at a casual pace.
Okay.
So they've added, obviously, a lot of extra padding to the sides there. And there's, side quests and that kind of stuff. But mostly it's all of this new story info that is, while I can't say irrelevant, I can say pretty solidly that all of the characters that you are doing these things for probably won't matter later. Without too many spoilers there for this 23-year-old game, just in case any of your listeners would be upset by that.
That's fair. No, that's... I think talking about Final Fantasy VII as its own, it's ridiculous to put a spoiler warning up. But from what I could tell, and I don't know how true this is, are there differences? I mean, there's obviously, if it's taking the first 5 hours and stretching it out, there's differences in the story now, right?
Yeah, and...
Okay, so I wouldn't want to spoil it because maybe things change, I guess?
Yeah, and I don't know for sure. I'm only 20 or so hours in, and honestly, it's entirely possible that there are larger implications that change the story down the road, but if they're trying to do a true remake, all of the story stuff that they're inserting can't really impact the overall story of the game, if you get what I'm saying.
That makes sense. Sephiroth has to be the bad guy, and nothing can change that, or else it's a different
story. Sephiroth has to be the bad guy, but now he just gets to show up in your hallucinations all the time, and then you fight other soldiers on, in a bike ballet.
I saw that on Twitch.
You do. Games on motorcycles.
Yeah, I honestly cannot explain. Okay, Final Fantasy has...
new?
Yes, that character is new.
Okay.
The character's name is Roche. Final Fantasy has always been a bit over the top and that kind of stuff, but a lot of the previous games have at least been somewhat grounded and not, we need to go to the top side of this plate or whatever, so let's take motorcycles. Oh no, there's a motorcycle villain who's going to fight us. And that whole scene was fairly ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I may have seen something late. Have you gone into Shinra yet?
I'm not sure.
I don't actually know if that's the name of the place. I just know that's a Final Fantasy VII thing.
Organization, right?
Yeah, Shinra is the organization that is kind of in charge of Midgar.
Gotcha.
I've done the first 2 reactors, and I just got Aerith into my party. They did finally solve the Aerith versus Ares feud by just flat out naming her Aerith in this version of the game.
Okay.
So,
hey, you know what? We have 2 characters with TH at the end. That's fine. It's
yeah.
And we have someone named Cloud and Tifa and Barrett and Jessie.
Jessie's not a party character, but I think the reason
that's her name.
Yes, that is her name. The reason you know about her is from all the posts online talking about how she is the thirstiest girl to exist in Final Fantasy.
So I've seen a little bit of gameplay on Twitch where you go on a mission with her buddies, and then, she talks to you later a little bit after that. And I know that. That's why I know the bike guy, because he shows up hey, my motorcycle is as strong as Cloud's sword.
Yes.
But I'm not, apparently.
Yeah.
And then Jesse's like, "Hey, Cloud, let's hang out." And Cloud is just as edgy as all my dreams had ever imagined. Like,
They did.
he's so like, I'm not worried about all this. It's like, oh, he's so emo. I love it.
They did soften his character up a little bit. Like, I think the advantage is actually just because it's now voiced. You know, obviously in 1997 we didn't have voice acting, or at least not in most video games. So, and certainly not in JRPGs. Having Cloud actually speak his lines makes him sound less like an emo sad boy, because it humanizes it. So
yeah, but it does feel like he was. It feels like somebody who's trying to be edgy rather than somebody who just super is edgy. Like, I have more important things to worry about. But I have a heart of gold. I smiled one time.
and they've done a lot of like.
One time I smiled.
They've done a lot of really good work with that, and also like kind of making his character more. Like even within the first few hours of him being, you know, the hard, like trying to be a hard ass the entire time, to suddenly like, you know, spouting witty one-liners and things like that. It's generally a lot better. If this was the Final Fantasy VII I played when I was in middle school, I would have liked it a lot more.
That makes sense.
I have an interesting, like a theoretical question, I guess. Like, jumping back to the spoiler thing, like, is it, like, fair to say that, like, I mean, obviously, like, this is a remake of a classic game that's been in the zeitgeist for a long time, but in the same way as, like, a lot of other reboots, this is, like, also possibly, like, someone's first introduction to the story at all. Like, so I feel like there's still, like, there are people playing this game who've bought this game who were not alive when the first game came out and did not have, like, you couldn't get a copy of Final Fantasy VII, like, except on, like, an emulator or something.
Recently, if you have, like, a PlayStation system, you can buy a copy of it.
You can download, like, the old one.
It's also
like,
on Switch at this point.
Oh, cool.
So, like, basically my question is, like, in the same way that you could talk about, like, DuckTales versus DuckTales 2017 or something like that, or, like, any reboot of a classic thing, like, is there a difference in spoiler culture, like, given that, am I making sense? Like, given that there are people for whom this will be the first time ever experiencing the story?
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of that where people are like, hey, guys, you know, I know these are all old things to us, but there, like you said, there's people who weren't really alive through Final Fantasy VII being released and through the internet, so try to keep spoilers to a minimum just out of fairness. I think the only spoiler that a lot of us know through cultural osmosis is, well, I'll just say for the sake of it, yeah, the big one. I don't know anything else about the story, actually.
Yeah, like, neither do I.
So it could still be spoiled for me. I mean, I know Cloud cross-dresses at one point. That was in the trailer, and we all know about that. But I don't really know to what end or what purpose that was, or if it even worked. I just know it happens, and that somebody dies later.
And I've always been in the camp of, even if you do get spoiled on something, especially something like this where, like, you know, the original media is over 20 years old, even if you do get spoiled on something, it should be more about learning why that event happens. You know, unless somebody sits down and explains the entire plot of the piece of media to you, you're not really being spoiled, you're just being told a single plot point that doesn't really make any sense outside of the context.
Yeah.
That's fair. So, like, even if someone sat you down, like, having never watched Star Wars and saying, like, and said, like, Darth Vader's Luke's father, you'd be like, okay. Like,
you'd be like, who's Darth Vader? Who's Luke? And it's more about
like,
the journey.
Why is this important? Why is this surprising?
I think that's only a spoiler if you know, like, that's the thing. With a little bit of context, that's when it becomes a spoiler. Like, okay, you've seen A New Hope. Darth Vader's Luke's father. You're like, oh, that sucks to hear that. Like, was that built up? Like, well, I mean, kind of not really, but it's different it's different to hear the fact than just see the fact happen.
And I could definitely see the argument for Final Fantasy VII Remake, because knowing how far this game is going to go, that major character death is not going to occur in this game. It's going to occur later. So telling that to people who are experiencing it for the first time, that may affect the way that they are viewing the entire story. So I kind of get not wanting to spoil that specifically at this point.
Yeah. So that's what I've seen, at least on the internet, is people saying, hey, like, try to be sensitive about that fact. Like, there are people that just may not have even known about it. And as much as people say play the classics, there's a difference between going back and, reading some of the classic authors or listening to some of the classical music. That we could talk about the validity of those ideas because, I mean, they were all old white dudes who wrote the classics because that's who decided what the classics were. But those are a lot different than, okay, so to really get an understanding of why, I don't know, let's say I wanted to introduce somebody to my favorite franchise, and I was like, hey, in order for you to understand why Sonic Mania is so good, I'm going to need you to play Super Mario Bros. 1 to understand what's even started. A game that has graphics and control that's so archaic compared to current standards that people are going to be like, okay, I get it. Like, it's interesting for historical purpose, but is it fun anymore? And I imagine the graphics are, like, for Final Fantasy VII, those are hard to look at this point. Like, it's kind of boring. Like, it's weird to look at. These graphics are rough. Like,
everybody has hooves for hands.
After this. I was gonna say, people were thirsting after this, like, 5-pixel man. Like,
you're the most handsome man in your Final Fantasy VIII.
That's a whole different story.
But, like, you look at Crash Bandicoot, and for the most part, the gameplay holds up. Like, there's some design flaws that were like, oh, that was a bad idea, despite what the graphics were. But looking at the old graphics versus the new, like, no, it's not the gameplay that aged. It's just the graphics are like, this is weird. So, expecting someone who is, like, 20 years old now, or even, like, 15 now, to want to go play Final Fantasy VII as a download is, I think, asking a lot to expect someone to, like, not be spoiled. So yeah, I'm trying to keep it on a minimum for stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of just fully hope that if this is somebody's first entry into the Final Fantasy series, that it more kind of brings them in. It's definitely a good introduction to the series as a whole, but from a modern perspective, because there's only really one other game that's going to play anything like this Final Fantasy VII Remake. And
that's Kingdom Hearts 3.
Well, actually, you know what? I guess that is 2. There's Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15. But
now I was watching. I'm like, this looks a lot not like Kingdom Hearts, but it has, like, some of the same. It looks like it's the same live action battle.
Characters are in here.
So
man,
yeah,
it's so cool that they give Cloud from Kingdom Hearts his own spin-off game.
I mean, really, that also does have a lot to do with the same, or at least. They, like, the two games share some of the same directors. At least the art director, for sure, is the same on both of those games. So
yeah, I've seen some belts and stuff. So.
Oh, yeah, lots of belts. I just really, as I was saying, I just would hope that it would bring people into the series and maybe they would go back and try Final Fantasy VII, the original, and find that they like that, and then realize that there are better games in the series and play those instead.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hope with any, like, new entry is that, okay, you see how great this was. Like, that's why we love this whole franchise, and there's some ups and downs. There's things about this that you're not going to find in other games, and there's going to be things in other games that are better than this. But if you start with this, we hope you like these other things. And I think it's a really good thing to get more people into franchises. It expands the community. Like, I'm not really about making more money for the companies. That's just a consequence that happens. I'm not here to stand a business. But the fandom and the community is something that I will advocate for people trying to get as much as possible into that.
Yeah.
So.
And
it's dope.
I full apologize for anybody who's going to now be incredibly angry that you had somebody on your show who just said that Final Fantasy VII is the worst Final Fantasy.
I mean, sometimes you say incendiary things.
We've got our hot takes.
I mean,
like, my current hot take is that the music in The Prince of Egypt is better than the music in most Disney movies.
I don't even know, like, I'm going to give you some credit. I don't know if that's a hot take or just an opinion. In the sense of, like, that the music is very good. I feel like it's very possible that's true.
Like, I'm not saying that, like, there isn't good music in Disney movies, but, and, like, obviously Disney movies aren't all dealing with, like, the like, heavy subject matter, typically, of The Prince of Egypt, but, like, every song in that movie gives me chills or makes me cry. Like,
I mean, it's power.
It's just like Stephen Schwartz and Hans Zimmer didn't have to do what they did, but
they did. I mean, that's because the Disney movies don't have any Letma in them. I'd say if I were to guess based on those two criteria of give you chills or make you cry a little bit, I would have to say what's comparable, Moana.
Yeah, I feel like Moana's got it, like...
Because Moana went pretty hard on the soundtrack,
yeah.
I gotta say.
I was just gonna say, speaking of good music, Persona 5 Royal has some absolutely new, like, bangers of tracks in its soundtrack.
Ooh, what a segue. You love to see it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You love to see it.
I don't want to talk in detail about the game just because, everything they've added would be absolutely, like, a spoiler. And
that's fair.
But I will just say that the new tracks they've added to the soundtrack are absolutely amazing. My one complaint is they put in new battle music, and the original track was called Last Surprise, and it had the famous line, "You'll never see him coming."
Yeah.
You never see him coming.
Exactly.
That one?
Now, the new battle music plays when you ambush an enemy. So when you get the drop on them, aka they never saw it coming. And that original song plays when you get ambushed.
Rude.
And that makes no sense to me. That's my one Persona 5 Royal statement to make.
And you know what's the rough part about that? I'm sure that was a meeting, and they're like, well, we could change the music when you get the ambush, but that would make it the not default music, and we need the default music to be what it is. What do we do? That had to have been a whole meeting where, like, I guess we'll do it this way.
And yet they still got it backwards.
This is a deep cut Stephanie long-standing issue, but like it's like when you do something like that and you had the opportunity, it's not even that you like cut it for time, like you had the opportunity to do the thing and you didn't. It's like in the Prisoner of Azkaban movie where they have the time to say that Lupin was one of the Marauders. And
was that a time joke?
Haha, no. They have the
I mean, it is
the try and travel one, but like they literally have the moment where Harry looks at Lupin and they're holding the Marauders map, and Harry could be like, "Oh, Professor, like, why do you know that that's a map?" He doesn't ask.
Why does he not ask? Because like that would give it away. Like
because Alfonso Cuarón wanted to make me angry.
I mean, he did so many good things. He had to do something.
Yeah, I guess.
But
anyway, that's my like side complete tangent of the movie that came out when I was 15, if not younger. Definitely younger. Like 12.
I have a small side complaint we'll throw in there that I just saw today. It's from Ducktales, which we'll get into in a little bit, but they do an episode that's based like a sitcom, and they're all wearing their original outfits, and I guess maybe Della is, I didn't look, but they're all wearing their outfits from original-ish incarnations.
I thought it was from their outfits from the Quack Pack.
One of them was. I want to say Dewey's was, but then he changes into something else. But everyone else's was not. It was like a little bit different. But Donald's was his original one. Scrooge was his original one. And I was like, man, they should have redid the title sequence with like the original song. I mean, that would have been a big ask to do a whole animation thing and change. But I'm like, it was right there. You could have did it. Shucks.
They do change the opening occasionally for like
other jokes, like random jokes that are like far less of a moment. Like they did one for Glom Golden for Launchpad, and they could have did one for everybody, but they didn't. And I get it, and it's fine. But shucks, it was right there. I mean, before we leave video game land, do yins have any cool things you want to talk about?
That's all the video game news I've got.
Yeah, I've been playing those two games. You and I have talked about One Step from Eden a bit, and I continue to play Final Fantasy XIV. Everybody should play it. It's really good.
Let's also let it be said that Eric earlier said that he had only played about 20 hours of Final Fantasy VII thus far. It came out 2 days ago.
Sure did.
That's true. Yeah, you got it like after work on Friday, so that's good work.
Thanks. I did it for you.
I appreciate that.
You know, when journalists got a crunch that, like, play it real fast so that they can provide the review on their important platform.
The only new game I've played this week or looked into was Valorant, the new first-person tactical shooter from Riot Games, who, by the way, we were all supposed to be boycotting Riot and Blizzard for being garbage, and I guess we still have not given them any direct money, but sweet boycott, you guys.
I was going to say, I haven't given either of them money. I don't know what you're talking about.
I canceled my WoW subscription and then haven't touched either of those things.
I continue to say, you know what, I paid for Overwatch, I should get to play it. I guess that's kind of side-skirting it, but I refuse to give them any more money. I don't really have any money right now, but I did when I said that, so I'll still count it.
So it was still a stand on morals and not on, like, fiscal reality.
Yeah. That said, this new game, Valorant, came out for their closed beta, and lucky for me, I jumped on that horse right when we got the opportunity to, because so this game from Riot was given to a bunch of streamers. I think about like 500 or 5,000. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a large magnitude of streamers. Got to play in what they call like a little boot camp the weekend before we all saw it. They all signed NDAs and played like as many hours I guess as you could in 3 days. So potentially 72 hours, but sleep.
But probably not.
And
be truly
they weren't
dedicated.
Yeah.
These were not real gamers.
And from what I understand, like, they weren't at Riot's facilities or anything like that, so their only constraint was the power of their own system and their own willpower. And some of them really stretched that willpower to its limits, which good for them, but they would have lost out on streaming money because it was NDA. A few days later, we all get to see their VODs, their video on demands, on their streams. So it's weird to watch Twitch when a whole category of gamers is just showing you stuff that they've done previously as opposed to live, which is, the draw of Twitch. But hey, modern problems. I'm sure they would have had them all in if we weren't going through a pandemic. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so if you watch that stream, you're able to get a drop, like a Twitch drop. I don't know why they won't call them keys. I guess there's some conspiracy of why they would want to do that. I have my own ideas. I guess I'll get to that in a second. But if you were able to get a drop that day, which I did, and I was like, well, that's cool that I got this. I mean, none of us can play till Tuesday. It's Friday, so I'm just glad to have it. Because a bunch of people tried to get their drops, and the viewership for Valorant was like 1.1 million on Twitch. And the next highest thing was like 500,000.
R.I.P. Fortnite.
Counter-Strike. Yeah, Fortnite was still doing well. It was still like in the nice like hundreds or something. As of like yesterday, like Friday, it was Valorant at like 900,000, and then Final Fantasy like 700,000. I'm like, geez. Okay, and then Animal Crossing is still getting tons of views. So like RIP to Overwatch and stuff like that.
Who's streaming Animal Crossing?
Like 60,000 people were watching it.
Vinny Vine Sauce. That's the only one I know of.
God, like, here, let me show you. Watch me run around in circles on this island and try to figure out why like bugs aren't spawning, and it's because the stupid water bug is spawned like against the like a ledge I can't see.
Yeah, I think it really just comes down to like how a lot of games are, is that you're watching the streamer, not necessarily the game as much, because I'm like, I can't think of why you'd want to watch. Well, if you don't have Animal Crossing, I'm sure you'd want to watch somebody else play it just to live vicariously. I'm not sure how entertaining of a game it is to watch.
It's just, you're grinding.
Yeah.
It's just grinding.
So yeah, it's just a good way to talk to people. I mean, I've watched people play card game. Well, that's actually interesting because there's some strategy there. But I've watched people do nothing. There's a whole just chatting channel, so I get it. That said, it's doing pretty well. So those are 3 big games right now. But Valorant, people are having a hard time getting access because there's over 1 million people trying to get like 500,000 keys or drops or whatever. So all that to say, there's a lot of things going on because Riot's an interesting company, and the game is
interesting.
Yeah. They had that whole lawsuit about treating their women like garbage, and they're doing better on that. So, credit where it's due. It'd be better if they didn't have to get that credit, but, if you overhaul your company,
been an issue in the
better
first
if it
place,
wasn't an issue, but, I can at least say, hey, good job hitting below bare minimum. Anyway, so this game, Valorant, is a tactical shooter, which just means it's not as arcadey as Overwatch or Fortnite or Apex. Like, you don't move as fast. If you're moving, your gun spread is wider, so it makes sense to run and then stop running to shoot, crouch to shoot because you get more stable aim, stuff like that. Try to make it more close to what a reality would be rather than laser guns and stuff, which sounds creepy at first until you like. At least for me, I'm like, oh man, like when you shoot somebody, like they just die, like this.
I was gonna say like, oh yes, that's what I want. I want the real feeling of having shot a human when I...
You want people to die when they are killed.
Well, see, what I'm getting at with that is that it doesn't, like in Overwatch, you shoot somebody in the head, you're like, oh man, I headshot that guy, like fuck that, like gorilla or robot or whatever.
Yeah.
But like it feels visceral, like, oh man, this person just got popped, like, and they don't come back to like the next round. It's not like they just get back up, which, I don't know, made it feel more distant. Like it made me think more about it, like, not like in a philosophical way. It just felt more like, oh man, a person just got shot rather than a genetically enhanced like gorilla. Just an interesting thing to think about. I don't ever really consider the violence in video games because I know it's fantasy, but you know, just a point. It's not going to cause anybody to be weird because it's too sudden. Anyway, but all that said, you know, you don't have like you have some fantasy powers, but they're not as intense as they are in Overwatch. You don't have like lasers flying around, people doing all kinds of crazy stuff. There's like a few things like some guy can throw a fireball around a corner that's a flashbang that lasts a couple seconds. There's nothing that's really like press this button to win. Like there might be in other games that have ultimates and stuff like that. But to me personally, and this is totally a taste thing, I'm not going to act like the game was very well built. I like the art style. It's a little bit simplistic, kind of like Fortnite Junior in a way, because they wanted to be able to run on really low power computers. They're going down the esport approach, so they want everyone to be able to play it on whatever computer they have,
they've got.
Which is smart, and they still make it stylized, so it's fun. There's a character who could throw up like an ice wall, and the other guy has like a fire wall, and they're like more stylistic than realistic, but it looks good. Everything feels crisp. The gunplay feels correct. Like, oh, hey, I shot at that person. I either missed or I hit them, and they don't take a lot of hits. Oh, man, I got shot by somebody. They beat me to it. But for me, I'm like that. Man. Yeah, I don't think I would have liked Counter-Strike. It's basically Counter-Strike with the Overwatch coat of paint on it. And, yeah, it's, you know, people can hear your footsteps when you're running. So you have to, like, hold a button down to walk, or you can switch it so that you hold a button to run. But I'm like, so I have to press a button to make me go slower, and the running's already not that fast, and you run faster, like, with lighter weapons, so you want to switch to your knife to run faster. And to me, it just felt, like, pretty boring. Like, when you die, you're out for the round until the next one spawns. Like, so either everyone on your team loses, or their team loses, or the bomb goes off. It's about planting a spike to steal mana or magic, I guess, is their plot. It's like, no, it's not a bomb. They're not terrorists. They're just stealing mana. Like,
you know.
They're trying to make it more friendly so they can like get more sponsors. I respect it from a business standpoint, but we're like, yo, Counter-Strike is terrorist versus counter-terrorist. Like, it's kind of hard to shake that. That's the industry knowledge, but props for trying. So if you're the offense squad, you want your bomb to go off or to kill the other team. And if you're the defense squad, you want to prevent the spike from being planted in the minute and a half or 2 minutes, or defuse it, and that's your win condition. And it goes first to 13 rounds, so these can last. They last minimum of 13 rounds and a max of 25.
That's ridiculously long.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and it could
many rounds.
Yeah, it's about 40 minutes or so. I guess, give or take, maybe half an hour for faster rounds. So most of the rounds don't last a whole minute and a half, and it doesn't feel like you spent a long time when you played. But if you're actually, there was rounds I won, and it just feels slow, and I'm like waiting for something to happen and trying to peek corners and get intel and stuff like that. I'm like, this is just really slow. Like, I tried watching some people that are better than me at it, which is most people. And I'm like, man, this is, you know, like, when I get frustrated with like Overwatch or Apex and I watch someone who's good at it, I'm like, yeah, I could do that if I got better. Like, that looks fun. Like, looks like you're having a good time. When I watch people better than me at Valorant, I'm like, man, this is still really slow.
It's unattainable.
It's not like it was boring because it was me. To me, this is just very boring. And I was like, I don't feel like I have a chance to get better because people are like, well, if you're bad, just get good. I'm like, how? Like, you die and you have to wait like a minute and a half for the next round to start, and then another like 40 seconds before you see somebody. And if they kill you, you have to wait another 2 minutes to try again. And it's like, it's well made, and I appreciate that people are enjoying it, but I got a chance to play. It's not for me, and shucks.
Was your code free?
Oh yeah, it was all free. Like it's going to be a free to play game. It's going to be one of those
nice.
pay to swag type games. You're going to sell skins and stuff like that.
So which is not a huge loss.
No, I didn't lose anything but like the time I spent playing it, and I enjoyed myself for the most part. That's the thing. It wasn't like an unenjoyable time. It's just like, you know, I don't think I want to keep doing this. This isn't super super fun, but it was fun to play. You know, And I'm like, you know, maybe I'll give that another shot. Like, it's a game that I'm glad to have and would be fun with, like, 5 people that I'm friends with, like, in voice chat, so we're at least bullshitting, like, while the rounds are happening.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a fun way for me to play, because I'm not that serious about it. But as far as playing with one friend or two, and mostly randos, it's not that fun for me.
That's fair.
The funny thing about everything you just said is that if you took out any of the first-person shooter aspects of what you were saying, I think you were just describing League of Legends.
League of Legends is kind of the same way. I look at that, and I really like the idea of MOBAs, multiplayer online battle arenas. Top-down games, they're basically real-time. There's so much lingo to explain what a MOBA is. Takes so much time that's not even talking about the game.
It's not worth it. It's really not worth it.
I like the style of them. I like the one that Blizzard made that was much simpler, Heroes of the Storm. It was a crossover of all their other games, which they pretty much abandoned competitive support for. Hey, thanks, Blizzard. But I like the concept. It's fun to play with other people that have a similar level of understanding as you do. But, I mean, the games take a long time, and the gap between when you die and then get to do something else, like, not move your character, but get to do something that, like, has a positive or negative impact is like, oh, cool, I died. It's like a 45-second respawn, and it's going to take me 20 seconds to get back to the battle. And then that's assuming the battle is not further away, so it might be 2 minutes before I do something that has an impact on the game. And the impact could be helping the other team, but I'm not going to get the chance because my character's so slow. But it was very refreshing it actually made me appreciate Overwatch a lot more. Not that Overwatch is a better made game. I would potentially say it's a worse made game, but which is still a well made game. No disrespect to the program, no disrespect to the designers. It's just some weird choices they've made. That's made me appreciate Overwatch a little bit more. We have a new character coming out on Tuesday, which I don't appreciate at all. That was a bad decision. It's going to be another damage character. That was a weird choice.
Is that the white robot?
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be a healer. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone did. That's what we all wanted to happen. We were like, yeah, we're going to get a healer. Maybe have some balance. What if we had 20 DPS characters and no more coming out till the sequel? And I'm like, if you were going to give us a DPS player, why didn't you give us the black lady that we've been asking for, who you've introduced in the lore, who's part of the team? Why can't we have the black lady?
No black ladies in Overwatch. It's illegal.
Or Valorant, apparently. They do have a Brazilian woman who... It gets a little bit tricky when you're talking about Afro-Latina people. So I won't say that she is or isn't black, but she has the same voice actress as Sombra. So I think it would be fair to say that she's just Valorant's Sombra, but is a demolitions expert instead. Cool character. All the characters are cool. The design's cool. The British black dude I love. The healer lady who is ambiguous, but light-skinned person. Very great, but... Valorant could have had a black lady and they just didn't, and it doesn't hurt it as a physical game like as mechanical, but it would have been nice to have a black lady in Valorant. I hate to say it wouldn't have kept me there because the game's just not for me, but I would have appreciated it nonetheless. At least you can play as black characters in Animal Crossing and Pokemon and Splatoon. I wish those weren't the only options to have a black character in Smash, but hey, it is what it is. Oh, I'm sorry. There's also Dark Pit and Ganondorf, the evil characters. My bad. You can make them brown. Against a Smash problem, or even explicitly a Nintendo problem. It's an everybody problem. But just pointing it out. But yeah.
How dare you point out the systemic inequalities in our system?
It's so specifically just black women. It's there's everybody else is there. It's mind-boggling. My mind is in a bottle. That reference is for I'm old, I'm washed. That's a millennial-ass reference. What's that from? Step Brothers? It's a Will Ferrell quote. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, you want to move on to Cartoon Land where things are a little nice and there's kind of black characters there?
Kind of? Who?
I don't know. So they made a weird decision.
So they've got Latinx ducks.
They have African ducks. They have Mozambique in Africa, which I don't. There's the only reason it's in Mozambique is because you can make a bird pun.
I get it now.
There's a guy that sells Scrooge some stuff so that he'd be the richest bird instead of himself.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, funny decision making that a brown bird, but it's fine, I guess. I'm sure it's on purpose because they have gay ducks and stuff like that, which is pretty dope.
They do have gay ducks.
Well, I don't know if
they're
not ducks, but they're a bird. There's only two species.
Gay birds confirmed.
There's only two animals on this planet. There's birds and there's dogs. And a couple. There's 2 pigs, but it's mostly dogs, which furthers the idea that maybe Goofy is a dog, but he's probably a cow because his wife was a cow.
At the same time. There are also there are birds that are not sentient.
That's true.
Why?
And there's also bears that are not sentient
Those
either.
are just birds, and then the birds that are sentient are silly birds. I thought that was the whole, like, dog versus goofy dog.
I think the solution to that is Goofy's not a dog.
Oh, well, there went the entire, like, amount of knowledge that I have about any of these cartoons, so please.
No, but I think Goofy's a dog, but apparently he's a cow, probably, because...
Really? No, he's a dog.
But he looks just like Clarabelle, and Clarabelle was a cow, because she had the bell around her neck.
Is that what makes a cow?
What?
No, that's just... I mean, yeah, in Disney. That was the signifier, I thought. But
Goofy, like, cows don't have, like, beagle ears like that, though.
That's true. Well, the Beagle Boys do, and they're dogs, so I guess he's a dog. But he doesn't have a tail.
You don't know that.
I don't want to know that. Does Roxanne have a tail?
Unknown.
Unclear.
I feel like if she does, unclear. feel like if she does, it's probably like a little bunny tail, like a little small, like...
She might have like a little puffball tail, but I feel like it would have came up more often if she had a tail. Like, people would have been weird about it.
Oh yeah, I was like, in the movie? Why would it
No,
come
not
up
in the
movie?
not in the movie. Like in our world. Oh, I hate this world.
It's
but
Don't kink shame.
DuckTales, you're right. I don't have a lot of room to talk anyway, but as a Sonic fan and a brand new Animal fan, but the new season of DuckTales is out, and there are 3 episodes, and plot is a coming.
Yeah, so, like, I was telling someone this. I think, actually, it was my roommate last night while I was under the influence, just, like, rambling. But, like, there's no, like, the only 2 things that I have, like, genuinely been, like, thinking about when I'm not watching, like, desperately or, like, listening or whatever, like, cannot wait for the next installment of a thing in, like, the last, like, year are DuckTales and the Magnus Archives, which could not be at a further
I know one of these
end of
things.
the spectrum.
I also know one of these things.
And then there's me, who knows both, and that's why they call me a bisexual.
So we're at
I like
yes.
money. I like money. That's why they call me a bisexual. Ha 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 ha. I hate myself.
Yeah, these first, like, so, like, even not knowing anything about the first 2 seasons of DuckTales, Eric, like, these first 2 seasons, or these first 3 episodes of the new season have, like, gone really hard with, like, classic lore, or, like, classic DuckTales and Disney cartoon stuff.
What if I told you I know nothing of that as well?
So it'll be even more confusing, because there's just random stuff in here that if you didn't know that it was being a cute little reference, you'd be like, what the fuck?
All right, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So, like,
barely an inconvenience.
So in the 3rd episode, or you could try to be weird and say the 2nd episode, because it was the first one to come out in a separate week. We'll just go. The Rescue Rangers are in it.
Yeah. But, like, not as, like, real characters, really?
No,
like...
so this character has, like, a smart ray that she wants to turn in, like, she wants to make Scrooge unintelligent, but she has to make sure that it works as, like, a smart ray first. So she makes these little chipmunks in this rat into sentient beings. I'm like, oh, that one looks like Gidget, and then, like, it comes back and, like, has clothes, and it's like, oh, it was Gidget and, like, all the Rescue Rangers, and then they, like, escape and help the plot move along. But if you don't know that they're being cute,
at the end,
yeah. So if you don't know that, like, oh, cool, it's the Rescue Ranger, like, that's really strange, but I guess it's not out of place that this Deus Ex Machina would happen, because that's ultimately what it is. It's just a Deus Ex Machina twice, but for no reason other than, yay, reference to our own stuff.
Yeah, and then Goofy's in the 2nd episode as, like, a guest star, I guess, but it's, like, also the plot of the episode is, like, there are 2 Supernatural episodes that it reminded me of. So there's
Wait, like the show Supernatural, or
the show Supernatural?
Oh boy.
So there's one episode from the 3rd season that is, like, when I was a Supernatural fan, was the episode that I showed people to be like, look how good this show is, like, you should. It was like the Blink of Supernatural. It's like, you should watch this, like...
What's Blink, Doctor Who?
Blink, yeah, Doctor Who.
Okay. Hey, I got that reference. Go me.
You did it. Look at you. But in that episode, they're trapped in the TV by a trickster, god who's like, so like they're in a sitcom, and then when it cuts to commercial, it's Sam and Dean like shilling like herpes medication, and like so
yes.
like it, you know, just like everything they do is like goes back to being like, oh shit, we're stuck in this TV show, and it gets like weirder and weirder as it goes on. And so like it was kind of like that. They were like, oh, we're stuck in a TV show, like this is rough. But there's also an episode in the first season that is like they're trapped in like they're in a world that is like perfect. Like Sam's girlfriend isn't dead. She dies in the first episode. That's not a spoiler. That she's the reason that she goes off to hunt, or he goes off to hunt things. But like his girlfriend isn't dead. Their parents aren't dead or missing or whatever. Like they're like there's one big happy family, and like it just won't sit. It doesn't sit right with Dean, and like and they're like, why? And like it turns out that they've been trapped by a genie in this like alternate universe that is like perfect and without conflict, and only like Dean's self-loathing and like inability to accept a world that where he is like has like a cute girlfriend and a happy life is why they figure out
wow, that's so angsty.
Which is super angsty. But that was basically the plot of the second episode of the that had Goofy in it, because they were like, haha, like, oh yuck, like I'm here to like talk about like when Maxie was and I were fighting. Like he had like a prom picture of Max and Roxanne in his wallet. Like
so good.
Very, very reference heavy. But yeah. So I don't know. I was just like, man, I love this show. Like oh god, that was a I didn't expect to see a tarantula on my own island. Not me.
Yeah, so it seems like, I guess spoilers for the end of season 2, which has been out. You should totally go watch it. And I guess it's sort of a spoiler, but, you know, FOWL is this organization. FOWL, you know, like birds, FOLW, ha ha ha, because they're foul.
It's like, but it's like Spectre from like a James Bond kind of thing, like where it stands for something.
Yeah, they're just basically Bird Spectre. And so they're like, yo, so the McDuck clan pretty much almost got the world destroyed once, so we gotta pretty much wipe them out, because they're like, we want to take over the world, not have it destroyed, so we gotta stop Scrooge and his family from, you know, destroying the world. Fair point.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, aren't you the bad guys? Like, I'm not sure, like
you're doing it for the wrong reasons, but ultimately you're doing it good at first. So they are unveiled in the shadows at the end of season 2, and the first episode's about Huey learning to like be a better woodchuck and not like be a like failure's okay. To
Woodchucks
get better.
are like Boy Scouts.
Yeah, the little Boy
Gender
Scout
neutral
group.
Scouts.
Yeah, and also they accept robots. Because Mark Beeks' robot son is now a junior woodchuck, and like, wait a minute, he's just going to be a character. And Doofus seems a little bit less of a garbage person now that his parents aren't his slaves anymore. That's a thing that's in this show.
What? What?
Yeah, there was a duck who was rich because his grandma left him the money, so he made his parents his servants, slaves, and they were afraid of him. Because he's terrifying, actually, but
he's the scariest character in the whole show, not like any of the people with like magic powers or like villains who go after Scrooge McDuck. No, it's this creepy kid.
Yeah, he's not actually like, doesn't do funny stuff like Magica will gloat, and Glumgold is incompetent to a joke, but like Doofus Drake is just like a sociopath who has kind of been
there's no humor to it. It's just like very like cold, like he's the straight man, and there's no like funny thing to be like, aha, but it's just a joke, right? It's just like,
no,
these are my parents who are my slaves.
But that's been remedied because of Mark Beeks' failure, which is, you know, good. Mark Zuckerberg. But
there's like a tech mogul in this who's still cooler than Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, because he admits
not hard
he's
to
like,
do.
No.
Which is, yeah, it's like his character is there to mock Mark Zuckerberg, and yet he's a better and more interesting person than Mark Zuckerberg will ever be.
Yeah, because he admits what his goals are. He's like, I just want to be like the most famous, like have the most clout. Everything I do is for clout. If I'm trying to stop Gizmo Duck from being the strongest, it's for clout. I want to stop Scrooge because I want to have more clout than him. Like, I'm not really here for any shady reasons. Data mining, how's that going to give me more clout?
Everything I do is for cloud as well. Oh, wait, sorry. Go on.
But yeah, in the first episode, it's just like a junior woodchuck training. We find out Violet has 2 dads, which is pretty cool. She's very nerdy and very adorable, and Lena just exists. I don't know where she lives. I don't know if she lives with Violet. She doesn't live with Webby. She just exists when the plot wants her to be there.
Yeah.
Which is cool, you know. She's a very fun character. She's like the only duck that wears shoes in the whole show. I just want to point that out. She wears like Chucks. Nobody else wears shoes. Scrooge does occasionally.
But, like, there's, like, a running joke for him that, like, he doesn't wear shoes, he wears spats. Like, he'll rip the bottoms out of shoes to make them into spats.
Yeah. I think Goldie has boots, but it's pretty much Scrooge likes to have his spats, even if they're fancy spats. I guess fancier than regular spats, but...
I mean, spats are pretty fancy.
They are. The only thing fancier than nice shoes is taking the bottoms off. But, you know...
It's nice shoes without bottoms on them.
You think red bottoms are nice? What about these orange bottoms?
God.
I joke about people being bottoms. There's something there.
Yeah, there's something there too.
But anyway, so the importance of this episode, Donald's being harassed by a mosquito, which is just like a funny joke because Donald has the worst luck. But it turns out that's a foul spy drone.
Like spy fly kind of thing.
Yeah, and it turns out that Scrooge McDuck actually looked up to the original woodchuck leader, this woman. She had
great... Oh yeah, which I thought was cool because I was like, hey, it's a lady that he looked up to.
Oh yeah,
great adventure.
Yeah, Scrooge seems to he'll look up to anybody regardless of gender. Like he's like, look, if you can make me money or I can learn from you, I am not too proud. I will shine a shoe. Oh man, my nephew, my great nephew, has all my money. Fuck it, I'll just start shining shoes again. If I became the richest duck in the world once,
become a billionaire again from the ground up, it's fine.
Which was not fine, but Scrooge McDuck showing like the ideal billionaire, I guess. I don't know. It's
Scrooge
hard.
McDuck is the only ethical billionaire, and I will die on this hill.
And possibly Tom Nook. No, not Tom Nook.
Is Tom Nook a billionaire? I mean, I guess.
No, he's a billionaire.
Oh my god.
I'm not sorry, but I apologize.
In the argument of Tom Nook being an ethical billionaire or billionaire, it's said in like some conversations, some side conversations somewhere, that he donates most of his profits to the orphanage of the town that he is from. So,
oh, that's good.
That's nice lore.
Yeah.
Like,
I could have made that all interest. Up. I don't know. But
no, but he doesn't charge interest, so he's not making money. He's really just like loaning you money the way a friend would loan a person money.
Tom Nook's your friend.
He just wants to have friends.
Yeah.
That's all he wants. He just wants people to like
chill on this deserted island with this raccoon man and his 2 nephews.
This is basically this is just it's Ducktales. Woo. Well, if Isabel likes Tom Nook, I trust him because I trust Isabel. But anyway, Scrooge gets this journal that the woman had, the woodchuck lady, and it turns out she had all these mysteries that she couldn't solve. And it seems like that's what they're going to be going after in the next few episodes. At least in the very next one, when they get transported to Quackpack Universe, they were looking for something on that list. So I think that's going to be the arc of Season 3 and Fowl trying to stop them.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing as Fowl was originally in DuckTales and then went into Darkwing Duck kind of the same way Launchpad and Gizmo Duck did, I'm not clear if that's the same Launchpad that was in DuckTales that was in Darkwing Duck, but Launchpad was in both, as was Fowl. So I'm sure Darkwing Duck will start to show up more often.
I mean, we've got Tailspin villains in here. We've got the Rescue Rangers as like a backdoor pilot almost. Like,
yeah. And then
I feel
Goofy,
like they're just like, hey, we are Disney, and we can animate whoever the fuck we want into this show because we own all of these characters. So it's not like you have to like, it's not like Marvel and X-Men and like can't say the word mutant kind of stuff. Like you just have the rights to do whatever you want, and you can draw whoever you want doing whatever you want. Like, yeah,
and it's not even like it's the situation of like, well, I guess if Disney's going to be billionaires and own everything, at least we could get some good content. Like, no, these are things that they just created. So like,
these are things that they had to begin with.
So, I mean, we already got a Mickey Watermelon, which was very funny. I think it's very funny that Donald can speak in Mickey's accent perfectly, but can't enunciate in his own voice. But it was a good first 3 episodes. I enjoyed it. I enjoy seeing all the different characters interact and build relationships with each other. It's funny how many characters there are that haven't interacted with each other. Like, I guess Launchpad and Dewey never really saw that, the spy that Mrs. Beakley knows, because they didn't go on that adventure with Webby and Scrooge. So, like, oh, okay, cool, it's kind of funny. Yeah, great show. Do you have any thoughts? I mean, I rambled a lot.
No,
I wanted to do.
I don't know, I was excited about having, like, just, like, little things, like, I mean, I thought, going back to, like, I thought it was weird that there was a fucking, like, regular bird in that first episode, because it goes back to this, like, what the fuck, like, who are you? Like, are you ducks? Are you humans? And then there were people in the Quackback episode, like a studio audience of humans, and they were like, what are these monsters?
Yeah, that was
like,
kind of weird. The show is actually kind of getting kind of horrifying sometimes.
that was particularly unnerving. But other than that, like, I don't know, I'm just having a grand old time. Like, I really want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
The same way that, like, can't wait to see what goes on with John and Martin in the next Magnus episode. Like,
yeah, I am pretty
excited. What are
excited.
those boys up to? I don't know.
Yeah, I
Leaving the
do
cabin.
want to know what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Goodbye to the cabin.
I guess I want to. We didn't do this in the show, so we'll do this at some other point. I'm just saying, if anybody's listening, I want to geek out about Ducktales Season 2 a little bit. And I'm probably going to bother you about this more, Steph, because those Moon Invasion episodes were pretty good.
That was intense.
Lots of cool stuff, seeing all the characters do their thing. The voice acting was great. Just lots of cool stuff. I think Dalla's a good addition to the show. It's fun to see, like, oh, hey, somebody does have a mom in this universe.
In this Disney property, it's the dad who's missing and never mentioned.
Yeah, he's never brought up.
Like, they spend a whole season trying to find their mom. No one gives a shit who their dad is, I guess.
I guess he must have just straight up died. And they just, like, are aware of that?
Yeah, I don't know how. Like,
I don't know how well, Scrooge has two parents. So, like, it's not like a foreign concept for people to have parents. Scrooge's like, yes, I have parents, and everyone else has uncles, and
everyone else just has uncles, except you have one mom.
Well, Violet has two dads, so I mean, I guess that makes it
true.
And then there's Goofy, so we have some dads. Actually, we still have an imbalance of dads.
Too many dads. Oops, all dads.
Even Magica is somehow Lena's aunt, despite the fact that she's, like, spawned her, so they're like, no, that's your mom. Like, why are we doing this?
She's like an offshoot of your sentience, like.
And then Mrs. Beakley is Webby's grandma.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know where the Vander quacks are at.
Yeah, why Webby was more concerned with finding Della Duck than she was with finding her parents, like.
They must have just got iced. They must just be gone.
They're just dead.
Oops, all dead.
Oops, all dead parents.
Oh, wow.
Welcome to Disney.
Welcome to Disney. The D stands for dead.
D stands for dead parents.
Ew. Oh, wow. That's a dark ass joke, but that's
here we go. And on that bright and cheery note, shall we call it an episode?
I think we should. We gave an extra long one today. It's our 100th special. We didn't do questions or anything like that because the world is rough, and planning that would have been extra work on top of everything that's going on. And sorry,
Not
y'all.
interested in that.
Times are tough. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this. I'm tired. I'm just tired. But listeners, thanks so much for listening to another one. And Eric, thanks for joining us on this episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You know, where I came in and botched my own introduction, and it was wonderful to be here and yell about JRPGs for a little while.
You know what? Like,
we're happy to have you. Anytime, my guy.
I think our first few episodes of Character Reveal, I was using my laptop's webcam mic, and I was trying to speak into my good mic, so all my words came in like this, not really there, and there's nothing I can do about that, and that's just how it has to be, and I'm not going to dub over like I'm George Lucas, so that's...
I mean, I am wearing 2 headphones, so...
Wearing 2 pairs of headphones like a real professional podcaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what all those lifelong podcasters do.
That's what the P in podcast stands for. A pair of headphones. Oddcast.
But yes, I'm happy to come back anytime.
We'll have to have you. It's good to have a Three's Company. That's the show. That's what it's called. Which was not the saying. Wow, holy hell.
I was gonna say I think there's already a show that kind of has that handled, but you know.
What, Three's Company?
Yeah, but hey, this can be our reboot, like a Final Fantasy VII reboot. Like you don't need to be familiar with the original
to enjoy the reboot.
To enjoy the reboot of Three's Company.
I didn't know there was a podcast called Three's Company. I was just talking about that old sitcom.
Oh no, I was too. That's what I meant.
Oh, phew. Okay, cool.
Don't have to be familiar with that weird show where a guy pretended to be gay so he could live with 2 chicks, I guess.
Who he never hooked up with even.
But yeah, who he never actually got with.
Man,
the 70s were a weird time.
That was a weird time, because if we did that show now, the guy would just pretend to be gay for no reason.
Yeah, like there wouldn't have been a problem with him living with 2 women, as their roommate.
And they would have already accepted him, because hey, our buddy is on hard times. It would have been for some other reason, I don't know.
For clout.
For clout.
For clout.
Ah, yes, it's me, Mark Beeks the Human.
This live stream. It's like the fucking fish in Animal Crossing yesterday who was like, or the fishing guy who was like, yeah, I just need lots of fish for my stream, for my live stream. And it's like my viewers, they need to see the fish. I was like,
ew.
What? What does that have to do with the viewers? I don't understand.
The people who are viewing the tournament.
What are they, why are you paying a premium for fish? Because your viewers need to see fish.
Calling it his live stream full of fish, though, is pretty good.
Yeah, puns. That's choice.
Well, yeah, people are gonna pay. It's called OnlyFish. Did the what are those joke originate from Hercules?
I don't know.
I think so, because it didn't. They don't say it like that in Hercules. So he says it very what are those
I mean, yeah, but, obviously the meme started from black people. I know how memes work on the internet. I know what it is.
Obviously.
But I'm wondering if that's where somebody got it from.
Possible.
But it is
Anything's possible on the internet.
Oh, gosh, you're right. We better get out of here. Do you want to hit the people
let me
with
hit
the
that social media
biz today? So we can all have our vacation juice and go to sleep.
Oh, God, what's that?
I don't know. Isabel had it in the one game, in the little pocket game. It's just whiskey with an umbrella in it.
Honestly, she had, when she was doing the morning announcements today, she had a old-fashioned glass with ice and something brown in it next to her, and I was like, we know you're drinking already, Isabel. It's fine.
How do you think? Look, she didn't get all those degrees without stress. How many degrees does she have? I think it said somewhere in one of the games.
Probably a lot.
She has she has at least one engineering degree. I'm pretty sure.
She probably has she's just basically the island HR person.
Why is she not the mayor? She doesn't want to be, or
Well, nobody's the mayor now.
Now I'm just the resident representative.
Exactly.
Ah, yes, the island. This is Animal Farm. Animal farming. Steph, please get us out of here.
So if you want to find us anywhere on the internet, you can do that. You can find us, this podcast, on the podcast catcher of your choice by searching for Character Reveal, or you can go to characterreveal.simplecast.fm if you want to listen to it in a browser. You can find us on Twitter at Character Rev. You can find us on Facebook by searching for Character Reveal. You can find us on Instagram at Character Reveal. You can find us, Dom and I, anywhere on the internet. You can find Dom at Brother Dom pretty much wherever he wants to be found, because that's his branding. You can find me at the Snow Queer on Tumblr, at Captain Steph on Twitter, and at Hello Steph on Instagram. And you can't find Eric because he's sneaky.
I mean, you can find me on Twitter as at TindyLosi, but you're not going to find anything interesting. It's just Vocaloid and anime and memes.
That is interesting. What do you mean?
So if that is your niche, as well as Eric's, check him out. But yeah, so I think that's all the biz.
Most likely. I looked it up while we were gone. Well, while you were doing that, no one was gone.
I was gone.
Here's 2 facts about Isabel from Animal Crossing.
She owns 2 Gucci sweaters.
There's 3 facts. So apparently Isabel's canonically bisexual. They never point it out, but in one of the games, she always gets a crush on your player, and she has feelings for you on Valentine's Day, no matter what gender your character is. So there's that. And thing number 2, her brother Digby lets you know that despite being a bit of a silly puppy at sometimes, she apparently has engineering degrees from 19 different universities. So that's cool.
Shown up by a
Shit.
cartoon dog.
I mean, and she still has to be like an admin because this economy is rough.
Even with all those degrees, she's still working in HR, so...
She can beat people
but yeah,
up,
so
though.
that's all that. So that's everything. There are motorcycles outside again, so
there's our fourth cast member.
That means it's time.
That's gonna be it. Hey, listeners, thanks so much for hanging out with us through 100 episodes of Geekly Reveal, some episodes of Character Reveal, some episodes of Getting By, little things here and there anytime we see movies. We appreciate everything. It's been a hell of a ride for the last over 4 years, I guess, probably. And we're looking forward to many more listens, views, reviews, hangouts, chit-chats like that. But
all that.
Until next time, see you later.
Bye.